Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged, USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all, those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Same thing with their half-pound USDA prime Wagyu burgers. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever had as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call. Find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. Yes! And welcome in, everybody, on radio and TV. Pick your favorite network affiliate. In your favorite location. All your independents as well. Also on television in your favorite markets with your favorite cable providers as well. Folks, we're everywhere. You can't get away from us, even on streaming platforms. And, of course, a big hello to our friends over on Facebook that listen or watch through Chicago Food Favorites, the Chicago Food Favorites page on Facebook. Kind of a fun, free page where you can talk about your favorite foods and your favorite recipes, your favorite restaurants and whatnot. Check it out, folks, on Facebook. That's Chicago Food Favorites. Nice round of applause for them. Now, as we watch the NFL season, it seems like week in and week out, there's a long injury list. And even in the preseason, there's a long injury list. And there's a bunch of reasons why that we see injury after injury after injury. And let's face it, we see the same thing in pick your favorite sport, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, baseball, tennis. We're seeing a lot of injuries. And you could put a lot of ideas together as to why. But when I look at it, I say, all right, what are the reasons for football injuries? There are a myriad of injuries. I think some of the injuries happen because players are making business decisions on the field. Maybe they don't want to get hit a particular way. Maybe they try to turn their body and something bad happens. I'm not really sure. That's just one thing. Maybe it's over-conditioning. I don't know. Could be heavy weight training. It could be a myriad of things. Who knows? But when you look at the star players that are out there that carry these massive contracts, and you say, well, geez, their injury is going to change the course of the season for this particular club. Let's take the case of Christian McCaffrey, who is arguably the best player in the National Football League when he's healthy. Now, he has been on the shelf for the San Francisco 49ers. As a matter of fact, looking at an update recently as by CBS Sports, 49ers star running back has Achilles tendonitis in both legs. And Kyle Shanahan has confirmed it. And here's an interesting part of this is Christian McCaffrey went to Germany to get treatment done. Now, how does that work as far as the league goes for approving international medicine and international care when they have such strict policies when it comes to player safety, controlled substances, etc., and so forth? How is it that they regulate this? I mean, obviously you can report what the team is doing or what the player is doing, and it all has to be run by the team doctors, I suppose. I'm not sure. But to get treatment offshore is something that I don't really think I've ever heard of that before. And so as CBS Sports has written, they say San Francisco 49er star running back Christian McCaffrey has bilateral Achilles tendonitis, meaning he has it in both legs per NBC Sports. That's nice of CBS to give NBC a plug there and to give them credit. That is called responsible reporting. So that's good stuff. Of course, CBS continues to say McCaffrey recently went to Germany for treatment, and San Francisco head coach Kyle Shanahan confirmed the report in his press conference. Quote, He said this via The Athletic. Quote, during the time he's had it in both, I think it started in one, you overcompensate, and it went to the other. But mainly, one of them has just been bothering him, but he's had it in both, close quote. And that is the case in many cases. When somebody gets injured, let's say maybe you turn your ankle or whatnot, well, you tend to walk a little lightly on that, and then you put a little bit more stress on your other foot, which in turn puts a double load or maybe 1.5 times the load on the other ankle. So this is how that happens, and unfortunately, this is exactly what Shanahan was saying. So an overuse injury of the Achilles tendon, this is what the Achilles tendonitis is described as, an overuse injury of the Achilles tendon, the band of tissue that connects calf muscles at the back of the lower leg to your heel bone. That's according to the Mayo Clinic. So some Achilles tendonitis can be treated at home, while more serious cases could lead to tendon tears that may require surgery. And I can tell you this, folks, I don't ever recall, well, I can't say ever, there's maybe one or two players that I may have heard of that have overcome a tendon tear, a Achilles tendon tear. And that is technically, if that happens, that for all intents and purposes, that is a career ender. So now the 49ers said they expected to get a better idea on McCaffrey's status over the next few weeks, and the team plans to ramp up his rehabilitation to see how it responds. And I don't know. I mean, General Manager John Lynch added that the team is aiming to quiet down the injury. So here's the bigger issue. They've got players that I think they just signed the Brandon Ayuk deal. It was a kind of a big deal. So they have players that could step up. The problem is Deebo Samuel as good of a running back as Christian McCaffrey? I'm going to argue no. Is he a better receiver? Absolutely. Is he as fast as McCaffrey? Yes. Does he run north and south with as much as power as McCaffrey? I don't think so. Samuel is probably the second best player in the NFL, but right now he's probably the first because McCaffrey's on the shelf. But how are they going to compensate, being the 49ers, how are they going to compensate for that loss? I mean, they're struggling playing about 500 ball right now. And let's face it, if you're losing teams like Arizona, which you should be able to manhandle Arizona, you got a problem on your club. And now you're going to have to basically plug the dam, kind of like what the Kansas City Chiefs have to do with the loss of Rashee Rice. They have to go out and find them a star receiver, and my best guess is it very well could be a guy by the name of Devontae Adams. And the Raiders could and likely would trade in the division because the Raiders aren't ready to win right now. They're not. And so if they make a deal with the Chiefs, well, it really doesn't affect them much in the short run. In the long run, they'll be taking picks and money and stuff away from the Chiefs. So it might work out to the best interest of the Raiders. But what could the 49ers do? Who could they take from? Because McCaffrey is basically an offensive Swiss Army knife. And if you're looking for somebody like that, you're going to be hard-pressed to find another player as complete or even in the same stratosphere as him. So I'm not so sure. The only guy that I know of, and he's actually on the shelf too, and there's no way that Houston would make a deal, would be a very young Nico Collins. I like Nico Collins. He's a big kid. He runs with power, catches the ball very effectively, and he is the next big superstar, I believe, in this league. And that would be one guy that could replace Christian McCaffrey in the short run. The problem is I don't think the Houston Texans are ready to give up anything because those guys are on the upswing, and they are proven to be one of the teams to beat in the AFC. So basically the 49ers need a guy like Nico Collins, and I don't know if there's another comparison out there in the league that's even in the same ballpark as that kid because, man, he is legit. Nonetheless, thinking about what the four-letter network has reported, they say, quote, I don't think Christian McCaffrey knows when he's coming back. I don't think the 49ers know when he's coming back. I don't think anyone knows right now when he's coming back. And that is only one statement. The next statement is, quote, they're going to begin to ramp up Christian McCaffrey potentially even this week, starting to get him back to see how he's feeling. And ideally, you'd like to hope and think that he's feeling better. That time off will have helped, but who knows how the calf and Achilles are going to react. Nobody can say for certain. That's close quote. So ESPN did add that the thought of losing McCaffrey for the season, quote, never has occurred, close quote, for the 49ers, but there's a lot still up in the air with the reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year. And so this is a really big deal, folks. It really is. So, because it changes the landscape of what happens in the NFC, period. So, McCaffrey was placed on injured reserve ahead of week 2, meaning he is out until at least week 6 against the Seahawks at the earliest. So, look, McCaffrey has yet to play the season after an incredible 2023, and he led the league in rushing 1459, and he had the third most rushing touchdowns, 14 last season, and also paced the NFL in scrimmage yards, 2,023, and scrimmage touchdowns, 339, while co-leading the league in scrimmage touchdowns at 21 with former 49ers in Miami Dolphins running back Raheem Mostert. Now that's a good one, but Mostert might be available because Miami is not really playing so well. And remember, he also had 268 yards on the ground along with 4 rushing touchdowns in the postseason. So this guy is going to be very, very tough to replace. And who knows, maybe the 49ers give the struggling Miami Dolphins a call and say, we want Raheem Mostert back, the pride of the Purdue Boilermakers. And maybe he fills the gap, and I think that would really be a nice pickup for the 49ers. But we'll see, folks. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. Thanks, Roy Firestone, for bringing us back. And a big welcome in to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, whether it's a network affiliate or independent from coast to coast. Thanks for joining us also on television, all of our cable television affiliates in select markets as well, Hotel TV. Thanks for joining us there. Also on Facebook, Chicago Food Favorites. And of course, we'd like to extend a big welcome in to everybody that's streaming on Pick Your Favorite Streaming platform. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. csncoyotes.com. Well, they've been with us since the very beginning. In 2016, 8 years ago. Wow. Thanks to the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. So, I wonder what the shelf life of a referee is in the NFL. As far as how many years, I don't really know. I've never done the research on it. But what I do know is that NFL referees' salaries vary depending on their experience, their role within the actual officiating crew, and the number of games they oversee. While the NFL season is relatively short, the job demand makes it seem like a full-time gig. Now, regular season pay for NFL referees is actually around, well, it ranges from $205,000 to $250,000 per year, which includes their base salary and game fees. Entry-level referees are expected to make a little bit on the lower end of the scale, while the more experienced officials, of course, the crew chiefs and whatnot, and the head referees are on the higher end. Now, there is also playoff compensation. So the earnings of the NFL referees increase during the playoffs, where game fees are significantly higher than those of the regular season, substantially boosting their annual income. And Super Bowl premium, how about this one? Officiating the Super Bowl may not only bring prestige, but also a lucrative pay bump, with officials and earnings between $30,000 and $50,000 just for the Super Bowl. Now, factors influencing the NFL referee salaries, of course, there are a few of them. Experience and longevity, of course, more experienced referees who have demonstrated reliability and skill over many seasons tend to earn a little bit more. Position in the crew, roles such as the head referee or referee-in-chief, comes with a greater responsibility and consequently higher pay. And performance. How do you like this one? Performance. That's the reason we're talking about this. We're going to get to performance. Performance. NFL referees are graded on their performance, and those who consistently perform well are more likely to be assigned to high-stakes, high-visibility games, which can further enhance their earnings, as I already discussed. There's a little bit of training and development involved here, too. NFL referees undergo rigorous training and continuous education to stay updated with rule changes and gameplay strategies. And this training is essential but unpaid, representing a significant time investment in their professional development without direct compensation. So if you're going to compare the NFL referees to some of the other sports, let's do that. NFL referees generally earn more on a per-game basis. This is largely due to the high revenue and profitability of the NFL. For instance, Major League Baseball umpires have an average salary of about $300,000, with more experienced umpires earning up to $450,000 per year. However, Major League Baseball umpires typically oversee more games per season than NFL referees, making their per-game earnings generally significantly lower. Think of the 162 games in a regular season. Well, versus 17 games? It's kind of a big deal. And NBA referees earn more actually than their Major League Baseball and NFL counterparts, with their salaries starting at $375,000 and increasing based on experience and responsibility. This comparison showcases the different pay scales across major American sports leagues, reflecting the economic structures and season length in each. So, there's challenges and there's rewards and all this. So despite the high pay, being an NFL referee comes with challenges, including significant travel, time away from the family, blah, blah, blah. They all come with this, right? NFL referees often earn solid salaries that reflect their skills, dedication, and stress associated with their roles. Yeah, but so does Major League Baseball and the NBA. How about the NHL referees? I mean, that is a really big deal. Why are we talking about this? I'll tell you why. Because CBS Sports puts out this welcome to our week X grades for the teams. Well, some of these weeks' grades for the teams seem to be, well, I wouldn't say contingent upon, but they seem to be partially influenced by some of the poor refereeing in the National Football League. And certain teams seem to get a little bit more than others as far as beneficial calls. And a lot of people say the Kansas City Chiefs do. I actually agree with that. It's my opinion that the Chiefs get more calls in their favor, and there's a lot of reasons to it, and a lot of it goes back to the political platforms of some of their fan base, a very popular fan, if you will, and significant other of one of the players for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think that political platform, because that person has come right out and said that they support a particular party, the one that's in power right now, and basically it's just a gigantic political play as I see it, but that's just my opinion, and I'm entitled to it, if you know what I mean. So that said, when we look at the favorable calls from Team X to Team Y, we say, wait a minute, some of these grades may be off in the same way that the NCAA top 25 football, their rankings are horribly off. I mean, how do you explain Alabama only dropping 6 spots from number 1 to number 7, losing at home to a perennial horrible team? Yes, an unranked team, being Vanderbilt, the Commodores. Not a good football program at all historically. They only dropped 6, but how does Missouri drop 12 or 14 or whatever the heck it was? Some crazy number like that. I think they dropped at least a dozen spots when they lose to ranked Texas A&M. That doesn't make any sense. USC drops, 12, 14 spots to a division rival, Washington, which is actually it wasn't USC. No, USC actually lost to Minnesota, which is a division rival, but a quality Minnesota team is who beat USC. And let's face it, Minnesota's been a bowl team for the last several seasons. All right, so we go right back to the NFL and we say, wait a minute, these week 5 grades, I don't know about that. So CBS says there weren't a lot of offensive fireworks around the NFL through the first 4 weeks of the season, but that changed in week 5 with quarterbacks taking over. Over the first 4 weeks, there was only one instance where a quarterback threw for at least 330 yards with 3 touchdowns. But that changed in week 5 with 4 quarterbacks hitting those marks so far, including 2 in the same game. Imagine that, 2 in the same game. So be it. So Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow put on a show during Baltimore's 41-38 overtime win in Cincinnati. Jackson threw for 348, 4 touchdowns, while Burrow threw for 392 and 5 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins and Joe Flacco are the other 2 quarterbacks who threw for at least 330 yards and 3 touchdowns in week 5. So basically, it's been a wild week, etc., etc. It's what they say. But talking about these grades, going from the very top, they start with, well, the New Orleans Saints. they give the Saints a C. And CBS says, quote, the high-flying Saints offense that started 2-0 was nowhere to be found this game, and the Saints' rushing attack was stopped cold with Alvin Kamara being held to just 26 yards. The passing game wasn't much better with Derek Carr throwing for 165. 43 of those came on one play, those yards that is, with him throwing a touchdown pass to Rashid Shaheed. Defensively, the Saints did come up with a couple of big plays, but otherwise, this was a bloodbath with the Chiefs piling up 463 yards of offense, and the Saints season is officially in a tailspin with 3 straight losses. The Chiefs, however, they give an A-. They give them an A- for all the opposite reasons, if you will. And mind you, the Chiefs are also minus Rashee Rice likely for the season, at least for quite some time, and they still end up winning a game against a pretty tough division foe. So in that Baltimore 41-38 win over Cincinnati, they give the Ravens a B and they give the Bengals a B-. I wonder what they give the referees in that one. And that's why we're talking about this, because the referees certainly played a role in that Baltimore-Cincinnati game. And Cincinnati seems to be on the wrong end of those referee situations, game in and game out, year in and year out, week in and week out, whatever it is. Dallas, 2017 over Pittsburgh. Dallas gets a B. Steelers gets a B-. And you could say the referees certainly had a play in this game as well. I watched it. I shook my head at the end of the game. As much as I don't like Justin Fields, I think Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh Steelers should have won that game. But then again, it's one guy's opinion. How about this one? Denver 34-18 over Vegas. They give Vegas a D-. You know what? I'll give them a round of applause for that one. And honestly, I think the quarterback controversy is over. It's time to bring in Aiden O'Connell as the full-time quarterback, but who knows? Tell you what, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Denver Broncos and the Patrick Surtain $96 million extension before the start of the season. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus from Las Vegas. Back in a few minutes. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are a podcast. They can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, you name it. We're there. You can't get away from us. Also, make sure you check out all of our partners, lots of great partners at thesportscircus.com. And one of those that's been with us for quite some time is the American Business Trust Company. Contact them at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935 for all your business needs, debt capital, structuring, human resources, taking companies public, business planning, you name it, they do it. Check them out. 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, the American Business Trust Company, 702-799-9935. Give them a call. They can help. All right, back with these NFL grades from CBS Sports. These are great. You could read so much into these, and if you were around in the first segment, you would have heard a little bit about the National Football League, and then you would have heard in the next segment a little bit about the referees and so forth. And we're going to get to that in a minute in a little bit more detail as to why the referees discussion preceded these NFL grades. Nonetheless, the Denver Broncos, of course, with that 34-18 win over the Raiders, they give the Raiders that D-minus grade, which, of course, we gave a nice round of applause after that sarcastic round of applause, that is. And the Broncos, of course, they gave them, CBS Sports gave the Broncos an A. And, you know, Surtain had that $96 million extension before the start of the season, and he showed why they're paying him the big bucks. He had a couple of interceptions. Got to tell you, folks, I do like Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is severely underrated. He's going to do very well in that system with Sean Payton. Remember, Bo Nix, in the Heisman voting, he was not the guy that won the Heisman, and Jaden Daniels was. I got to tell you, Jaden Daniels is looking like a rock star right now. But Bo Nix actually had the best numbers out of all the quarterbacks coming into that Heisman voting situation. And he was picked down the trough a little bit too, but got to tell you that he's a big kid. I think he's about 6'4". He's a pocket passer, very poised. He looks good playing the quarterback position in the National Football League. This kid's going to be a star. Go collect some of those football cards of Bo Nix. You're not going to be sorry about those. And make sure you pick up some of those Jaden Daniels too. I got to tell you, I did as well. You got to do it. I've been a collector since I was just a little kid, maybe 5-6 years old, and I'm still doing it. So the Packers, with their 24-19 win over the LA Rams, those guys got a B in their grade from CBS, and they said the addition of Xavier McKinney is suddenly looking like the best defensive free agent signing of the year. McKinney forced 2 turnovers against the Rams, which both came in the second half, and the Packers were able to get 14 points off those turnovers to put the game out of reach. McKinney was one of the few bright spots for a defense that did struggle quite a bit against the Rams. Offensively, Jordan Love threw an early pick six, but he made up for it by throwing a 66-yard touchdown pass to Tucker Kraft in the third quarter. The Packers weren't perfect, but sometimes you don't need to be perfect for the win. Well, let's face it, they played a pretty weak Rams team, but somehow the media still gave them a B-. Not sure what they were thinking, but let's move on. Arizona 24-23, CBS Sports gave Arizona a B+, while they give the 49ers a C. And we're going to go to the 49ers. We already know why they gave the B+. So CBS Sports said, with the 49ers leading 23-10 at halftime, this game looked like it was going to turn into a blowout, but the 49ers had a second-half meltdown. The offense fumbled the game away with 3 turnovers over the final 2 quarters, including a fumble by Jordan Mason that came inside Arizona's 10-yard line. Yeah, inside the 10. Brock Purdy also threw 2 interceptions on a day where he struggled with his accuracy, which is not very common. Brock is a very, very good quarterback. And he just had a bad run there for a couple of quarters. It is what it is, folks. 49ers red zone offense was a disaster, with the 49ers scoring just 1 touchdown and 6 trips inside the 20. And it didn't help that Jake Moody got hurt as well. Look, these guys are kind of a mess. And so a C may have been even an underscored value. You never know. Moving on. The Giants with their 29-20 win over Seattle. Got to tell you, that was a big, big shocker. They give the Giants an A-. And you know what? I'll give the Giants an A- for that too. I think they may have found their star in Tyrone Tracy. The rookie 5th-round pick ran for 129, and his performance helped propel the Giants' offense. So that balanced out the passing attack. So Daniel Jones didn't have to throw because he actually had a running game. And he still threw for 257 and 2 touchdowns. So they did well. And Seattle, they still give a score of a C, or a grade of a C. Not really sure why, because there was some turnovers involved here. But nonetheless, maybe the return of a fumble, 102 yards for a touchdown, maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. Houston 23-20 over Buffalo. No real surprise there. This Houston team, which I had mentioned earlier, these guys are legit. And Buffalo is a good squad. And let's face it, if Josh Allen struggles, it's almost impossible for the Bills to win. And, well, guess what? Josh Allen struggles, so the Bills end up getting a C. The Texans, a solid B, and they are one of those teams that they're going to get a B or an A almost every week because they're coached well and they play well. Now, it was the Bears 36-10 over Carolina, and this was the perfect storm for opposites, right? And the Panthers, of course, they get the failing grade, the only one that I saw so far anyway, and the Bears, meanwhile, got an A+. The Bears get an A+. How do you like that? This game went about as perfect as possible for the Bears. Caleb Williams had a breakout day, and of course it was against a, less than stellar Carolina defense. For the first time this season, Williams looked to be in total command of the Bears offense on a day where he completed 69% of his passes for 304, 2 touchdowns, and both were to DJ Moore. Williams had a strong connection with Moore, who caught 5 passes for 105. With Williams looking better every week, the Bears could turn into a surprising playoff contender this year. I had said that the Bears were going to end up 9-8, and I thought that Williams was going to have that sharp learning curve. And let's face it, he just beat up on a very weak Carolina team. And so this may be one of those games where, the Bears offense actually did win a game, but I think the Bears defense is going to steal a couple more games like they did with their first win of the season. Miami 15-10 over New England in a battle of the nobody cares game, and the Dolphins got a C+ from CBS Sports, and the Patriots got a C-. And really, I don't think we're going to go into the details because nobody cares. Washington big over Cleveland, 34-13. And there it was, another situation like the Bears game, a failing grade for the Browns and an A+ for the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels is looking like a superstar, and he is certainly looking like why he won the Heisman is something that everybody else knew, except me, I guess. But this kid is good. He is good. In fact, we're going to give him a round of applause because he really is that good. So, moving on, Jacksonville 37-34 in a desperate need of a win. And the Jags got a solid B+. The Colts get a B-. The Jags were winless, and they really needed something for the fan base, which they finally did get. Trevor Lawrence responded by throwing 371, 2 touchdowns, and he came up especially clutch during a fourth quarter where he went 10 for 12 for 117 and a touchdown. And the Jags had a well-rounded offense with Tank Bigsby going for 100. Now, if that name sounds familiar, everybody listening in on WAUD, because that's the former Auburn Tigers star, Tank Bigsby, that was over there running up and down the field over at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Nice round of applause for Tank. Yes! Moving on, it was Minnesota across the pond, 23-17 over the Jets. And the Jets, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers had sort of a meltdown, I guess. And he's the oldest player in the NFL, and he's playing like the oldest player in the NFL, which really isn't a good thing for New York. And it's just something else for the Giants fans to rip on Gang Gring about, because it just seems to be that constant yin and yang in the city, with it, just like the Mets and the Yankees and the Islanders and the Rangers and the Giants and Jets, and it just seems like it goes that way. Now we have the same thing with the Clippers, or the Knicks and the Brooklyn club, the Nets, right? So we have this constant struggle in the city, and honestly, we have a little bit of that in some of the other cities too. But this is just something else for the Giants fans to gloat over. They've got a big win on the road, and the Jets, they stunk the joint up. So moving on, and they didn't represent America very well either. Atlanta with a wild win over Tampa Bay, 36-30. The Bucks get a B-, and the Falcons get an A-. And Atlanta is proven to be a lot better than what people thought they were going to be. And, with these grades from CBS Sports, look, they're not very far off for the masses' opinion. It's not as if they're just pulling letters out of their you-know-what and saying, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to just randomly assign. No, we're actually looking at these and saying, okay, what's the criteria for an A+, an A, or an A-? And the same thing with all the other grades. And I think CBS Sports did a pretty good job in assigning these grades, but the one thing they didn't account for was the referees' influence in the games, because the referees had influenced at least 3 of these games. And I think if you gave the referees anything, you'd probably want to give them a grade of an F. But some of those referees are worth $15 to $20 million. How do you explain that when they're making a couple $300,000 a year? How are they worth $15 to $20 million? You do your own research on that, folks. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Lots more to come.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, again, which are our podcast. And make sure you check out that there's a swag and products page out there, too. Make sure you check that out. Lots of cool gear from the Sports Circus, just in time for Christmas and whatnot. And tell you what, hats, hoodies, shirts, pants, socks, you name it, we have it. Check it out at thesportscircus.com and make sure you tell them, being the Sports Circus, that your Ringmaster Sal had sent you. I'll tell myself. You can tell me that I sent you. That's ridiculous. All right, welcome back to everybody and all of our network affiliates, all of our independents as well. Thanks for joining us. Everybody over in Atlanta, thanks for joining us on WDJY. 99.1 FM over in Auburn, Alabama. That is WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Thanks for joining us also in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the Yankees, 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. So welcome into all of our others and on Chicago Food Favorites over on Facebook. Make sure you check that out. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right. In the last segment, talk about those NFL grades. And it was the Washington Commanders with that A-plus grade over the Cleveland Browns with that F grade, the failing grade. Of course, largely due to a offense. It's in complete disarray. Offensive line that's absolutely atrocious. Deshaun Watson throwing about, 125 yards, whatnot. And you have to ask yourself now, is Deshaun Watson the guy that Jimmy Haslam paid for at the Cleveland Browns, that $240, $250 million, whatever the heck it was? Is he that guy? Is he that good? Well, I don't know, because you don't really have an offensive line to protect him. And so the Bears had a similar problem with Justin Fields because they couldn't protect him, and the Bears historically haven't really protected their quarterbacks well, and that's why if you're a quarterback and you go to Chicago Bears, chances are you're not going to have a great career, at least your time there. But is Deshaun Watson a good quarterback, or is he distracted? I don't know. I tend to think he's a little distracted here, because here he is again. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson reportedly settles the latest sexual assault lawsuit. Unbelievable. We'll give credit to staff writer Ryan Young over at Yahoo Sports for this. And of course, a warning first, this article contains depictions of alleged sexual assault. Not good, but we're giving the story to you as Yahoo reported it. And they say a new sexual assault lawsuit filed against Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson was settled confidentially, according to the Cleveland.com and Mary Kay Cabot. The lawsuit, which prompted a new review from the NFL, accused Watson of sexual assault and battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Then it was similar to the nearly 24 that were first filed against him when playing for the Houston Texans, though it was unrelated to the initial claims. And so Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com had posted on X. She said, the lawsuit filed a month ago against the Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has been settled confidentiality, a leak source tells Cleveland.com. And at Pro Football Talk first reported it. So, Yahoo says Watson again accused of sexual assault. Watson's accuser had filed her lawsuit anonymously last month and said that she was supposed to go on a date with Watson in October 2020. According to the lawsuit, Watson struggled to find her apartment ahead of the date and called her, but he started, quote, aggressively yelling and screaming, close quote, on the phone. After that was resolved and Watson entered the apartment, the woman invited Watson in to wait in her living room while she finished getting ready. She said she kept trying to talk with Watson from the bathroom while she was putting on makeup, but he stopped responding. When the woman came out of the bathroom, she said she found Watson, quote, completely naked on her bed, lying face down on his stomach, close quote. Now, the lawsuit stated, quote, while Jane Doe stood there in shock, Watson turned his head and aggressively insisted that she massage him, gesturing to his buttocks. Jane Doe asked if Watson meant he wanted her to massage his back, but Watson indicated that it was his buttocks he wanted massaged. Jane Doe was at the point in the encounter and was terrified. And she was in her small apartment with a much larger man, and she was still reeling from Watson's outburst and aggression on the phone. Doe thus tried to appease Watson by rubbing his back rather than his buttocks. Watson began insisting again that she focus on his glutes, seemingly frustrated that Doe would only rub his back. Watson then turned over, revealing that he was excited. Watson continued to demand that Jane Doe massage him, gesturing from his knees to his groin. Jane Doe froze in fear, unsure of how to refuse Watson's advance without jeopardizing her safety. Confused and scared, she reiterated to Watson that she wasn't a masseuse, close quote. Now, that is according to the lawsuit. Now, further, the woman said that Watson then suddenly grabbed her leg, partially disrobed her, and penetrated her private part without consent. And Watson allegedly assaulted her for several minutes. Then she escaped from underneath him and screamed at him to get out of her apartment, which he eventually did. Now, the allegations are similar to more than 20 accusations of sexual misconduct that were levied against Watson during his time with the Texans. And Watson didn't face any criminal charges. At most of those lawsuits were also settled confidentially. Yes. And he's long denied any wrongdoing. And he denied the allegations against him in the latest lawsuit too. So, this guy was suspended for 11 games in 2022 as the result of the initial investigation. The NFL expanded its sexual assault policy and penalties as a result of Watson's situation too. And the league is currently investigating the new allegations to determine if Watson violated the league's personal conduct policy and if such a violation warrants additional discipline. Yeah, this is the problem. Despite the initial wave of allegations against him, the Browns signed Watson to a record-setting, fully guaranteed $230 million. And the team has restructured that deal twice since, and he's largely struggled on the field. And he's only played in 6 games in each of the past 2 seasons, first because of suspension and then due to numerous injuries last year. And the last game, as I mentioned, he threw for 125. He was 15 for 28, 125 with a touchdown in their 34-13 loss to Washington. And he is yet to throw for more than 200 yards in a single game this season while leading the Browns to an abysmal 1-4 start. So if the Browns cut Watson in 2025, they would face $172 million in dead cap hits. And the team would be hit with $99 million if they cut him in 26 too. Both of those figures would set a new record for the most dead money incurred in NFL history. So despite his struggles and latest off-field issues, the Browns appear stuck with Watson for the time being. That's unbelievable. And speaking of unbelievable, let's stick with that one because the New England Patriots' Jabril Peppers was arrested pled not guilty, to assault and battery, strangulation, drug possession charges. This is also according to the same Yahoo Sports. Boy, they've got all kinds of stuff here. And of course, New England Patriots safety Jabril Peppers was arrested in Braintree, Mass. after allegedly choking his girlfriend and pushing her down a flight of stairs. According to a police report viewed by Boston 25 News, Peppers was arrested after the police were called about a residential disturbance in a home, and Pepper's girlfriend reportedly called the police around 4:15 a.m. on that Saturday and said that her boyfriend hit her, choked her at least 6 times, smashed her head against them all, and pushed her down the stairs and put her outside. Once the police arrived at the home, they found Peppers and his girlfriend, who has not been named. And that particular woman says she told police via WVCB, quote, "My boyfriend put his hand on my neck and smashed my head against the wall, and then he pushed me down the stairs," close quote. And the report said that she was treated by EMS at the scene for injuries to her head and neck. Yeah, Peppers, per the report, told police that an argument started after they had sex. Peppers alleged that his girlfriend tried to have sex with him without a condom and became angry and argued with him after he refused to do so. And he denied putting his hands on her, and he asked her to leave, and then she fell down the stairs on her own. After Peppers was arrested, he was charged with assault and battery, strangulation, and possession of a Class B substance. According to Boston 25 News, the substance is believed to be cocaine. When he was released after posting $2,500 bail and pled not guilty at his court appearance. Oh, yeah. So, Pepper's attorney told Boston 25 News, quote, "We have evidence that completely contradicts the victim's story, and I expect my client to be fully exonerated," close quote. And the Patriots released a statement regarding Peppers and his ongoing situation. The team said, quote, "We are well aware of the incident involving Jabril Peppers over the weekend, in which the police are currently investigating, and we will have no further comment at this time," close quote. Head coach Gerard Mayo told the media that Peppers is allowed to be in the building while the Patriots gather more information. He also said the players have been told about the situation. In fact, Mayo said, quote, "Players need to know about it so we can learn from whatever happened," close quote. Now, Peppers is due in court on November 22, and it's unclear if he'll be available for their game against the Houston Texans. Got to tell you, folks, these guys, as I see it, now, I don't care if he's a team captain, his third year, and all this other crap. Third year of signed a 3-year, $24 million extension. Who cares about all that crap? Ultimately, these guys, as I see it, in my opinion, are absolutely not role models. Not for 1 second. And frankly, they, in my opinion, are a complete embarrassment and not role models to kids that look up to them. I want to be a pro football player someday or whatnot. Why is there so much chaos? And it's a sexual issue, potentially, whatever. The whole arrest was around this whole sexual situation. Just like the Deshaun Watson problem. And how many other countless players and crap like that do we have to deal with until people finally say, you know what, I can't watch this sport or that sport. I can't do this stuff anymore because it's not doing any good for my kids. It's not doing any good for me. It seems like the games tend to be compromised a little bit too by the referees. And I don't know. I'm just concerned about the whole platform of what's going on, especially with the National Football League. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long from Las Vegas, and we'll see you soon.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.